Hi, everyone. Because of COVID, like so many other things, First Communion is going to be quite a bit different this year. Since we're not able to hold practice for First Communion, I'm asking that all parents, communicants, and ministry volunteers please be at the church this Sunday at 1 o'clock so that we can do a brief practice before Mass begins. Parents and communicants, you're going to want to enter through the narthex and go directly to your pew. Please do not wander to take pictures once you're there. Stay in your pew and await directions. This video that I've done will run through the Mass and the basic flow of communion so you're not totally taken by surprise on Sunday. And while it's not perfect, it'll help you prepare until we can gather for the walkthrough. Please forgive me, I had a bit more content, but me and my technological savvy deleted half of it. I have absolutely no idea where I put it, how I deleted it. I just don't know where it went. But I think what I've managed to save is going to be fine. So parents and communicants, at the end of this PowerPoint or this video, there's going to be an attached church diagram. It lists all the names and where you're going to be sitting. Each family, again, it's the parents, one parent or two parents, and the child only in the church. 4 other guests per family can go into the activity center. We went ahead and each family in the church is assigned to a pew. So on that diagram, you're going to see that Nancy, my assistant, has gone through and assigned each family to a pew. So you're going to want to look at that diagram and familiarize yourself with where you're going to be sitting, because once you get to church, you're not going to be wanting to or able to wander around looking from pew to pew to pew. You're going to want to basically go right to your pew. The ushers are going to have access to this. They'll each have their own diagram as well. So if you absolutely cannot find where you're supposed to be sitting, you can ask one of them and they can certainly help you out. Because you are arriving an hour early, your guests or those family members, maybe siblings and a grandparent or whomever, that aren't going to be able to come into the church are going to have to go directly to the activity center, and they may come to the church later. They're welcome to sit there for an hour if they want to. But more than likely they're going to want to come a little bit later. They're not going to be able to come in through the church. They're going to need to come. There's an entryway in the front by the commons area that'll take them directly into the activity center. They're not allowed to come into the church and snake their way through, as well as at the end of Mass, they're not allowed to snake their way through the church to come into the church to find you. So you're going to need to probably set up, beforehand, set up a meeting place afterward. If you plan on meeting up after the Mass, you'll do that outside, and you might want to establish that beforehand. So on to the Mass itself. At the beginning of the Mass, due to COVID, our friend COVID, the First Communicants are not going to be processing in with Father this year or having any form of procession coming in, which is, a little sad, but it is the reality. Father will enter with the altar server. He's going to do the opening prayer. We're going to sing the Gloria. Then he's going to do a regular prayer. And then we're going to go right into our readings. And our communicants, 2 of them have volunteered to read. So Kira Schuler and Violet Shazinski are the 2 that are going to be reading for us on Sunday. So first, Kira will come to the front of the altar when it's her time to come up. She's going to come to the front of the altar. She's going to do a slight bow, and then she's going to proceed to the ambo. She'll read her reading from Deuteronomy, and when she's done, she's going to go back to her seat and sit down. Then the cantor will proclaim the responsorial psalm, and at that point, Violet is going to come up to give us a reading from Corinthians. And again, she's going to come up to the front. She's going to do a slight bow of reverence to the altar and proceed up to the ambo. When she's finished, she'll come back and sit and take her seat. When she's done, the readings will be in a binder. We will have a binder for them up there. And when she's done, she's going to want to flip the next sheet over so that the gospel is exposed for Father. Once she's done with that, she can go back to her seat. We'll go on with the gospel acclamation, the Alleluia. Father will read the gospel, and then he'll give his homily. After his homily, we'll do the renewal of baptismal promises, which I really ask that all the communicants strongly reply with, I do. Do you reject Satan? I do. So please make sure you exclaim that pretty loud and boldly. After the renewal of baptismal promises, we have intercessions. They come up. Now I've got 5 students who have bravely volunteered to read and write the intercessions. Thank you very much for that. Communicants can come up in pairs, and I've got 5 of them, so intercessor number 1 and number 2 can come up at the same time, but you're going to want to maintain social distancing. And I have them coming from various areas of the church, from their pews, so that they should have no problem maintaining social distancing. They come up together, remaining 6 feet apart. They're going to reverence slightly at the altar. Reader number 1 is going to walk up to the ambo. The other reader is going to kind of snake around to the left-hand side and stand toward the back on the floor near the Marian statue that's hanging over on the left-hand side as you're facing the altar. First intercessor is going to read their intercessions. There'll be 2 for each of them. You're going to read your intercessions, making sure you say, Lord, hear our prayers, so all the congregants can reply. And once you're done reading your 2 intercessions, you're going to head down to your seat, do a slight bow at the altar, and then go and have a seat. At that point, the 2nd reader comes up. And this is going to continue with the 3rd and 4th reader, and then finally the 5th reader will have no partner to come down with, but each of you can bring a parent down, so he won't be coming down by himself. My readers are as follows. Trinity Brost and Grant Winter are readers number 1 and 2, so they'll come down together. Allison Fletcher and Callie Phillips are readers number 3 and 4. They'll come down together. And then I have Asher Welsh, who's reader number 5. He will come down by himself. To avoid excessive paper handling, each one of you will have your specifically assigned readings printed out on green cardstock, and they'll be in your pews. So you should bring those up to the ambo with you. We will have them up on the ambo just in case you're a little nervous and you forget to bring them up with you, but try to bring those green cards up with you because we're trying to avoid as much handling of paper as possible. So after the intercessions are done, we go into communion, and Father will begin with consecrating the bread, the hosts, and the wine. You're going to want to kind of pay a little bit special attention to this section because this is quite a bit different than what has been done in years past. So if you've had a brother or sister or a younger child that has gone through this is going to be a little different for you. This year, Father's going to distribute communion to the first communicants while they're in their pews. They aren't going to get up and move. I just thought that this was the safest and easiest way to do it. So what will happen is after Father's consecrated and we've done the Lamb of God, we'll begin the communion hymn, and he's going to start going forward to distribute communion to the first communicants. He's going to start on the left-hand side of the pews, the right-hand side of the pews, of which is the pew section closest to the choir area. The altar server will go before him. The altar server is going to squirt the hands of each first communicant. The parents don't need to be sanitized this time. Only the first communicant gets sanitized. Rub your hands really good together so they dry. And as she's moving on to the next first communicant, the Father will come up to that one and he will distribute communion to you. Once you're done, you have taken it, you want to bow, and then you want to kind of do a little prayer, a quiet prayer until he's finished distributing to all the communicants. Father's going to start off, like I said, on the pews closest to the left, the choir area. All communicants are going to sit closest to the aisle, so he's able to get to you. It won't be, mom sitting next to the aisle seat or dad sitting next to the aisle. It's going to be the communicant at the end next to the aisle. He's going to snake. He's going to go up, and then he's going to come down, and then he's going to go up and down, and then finally up again. Once all the first communicants have received, then we'll go on to the parents. Now the parents, when you get into church, you're going to see blue tape. I think in the video that I have next after this, you'll see blue tape. And that blue tape is going to give you direction as to which way you're going to go. Pay attention to your ushers. The ushers are very seasoned, the ones I have on, thank God for Sunday. Very seasoned, they know what they're doing. They're going to help you out. Watch them. You will be released one family at a time, one pew at a time. So it's not your typical where you're all going down together at the same time. The Eucharistic minister will meet you at your pew. He or she will distribute communion to you. You'll go to your pew and you're done. At the end of, when you come out of your pew, you're going to walk all the way to the back of church. And there's hand sanitizer stations located at the back of church. So you can sanitize your hands, and as you're walking down to receive, you'll be drying your hands and letting them dry. When that's all done with communion, and again, we will have this practice to run through this on Sunday. The ushers and the Eucharistic ministers that I have on are very, very well trained, so and very seasoned at this. So we shouldn't have any problem as long as you follow their directions. The first communicants, in order to continue to do this smoothly so that you're not climbing over your communicant to get out to take communion, the first communicants will go up with their parents. They will not receive at this time. So they're going to receive in the pew, and then when mom and dad go up, they're going up with them. They do not have to sanitize, but they want to go and they want to cross their hands over their chest so that Father, he'll obviously know that they've already received, but it's just a gesture of reverence. No one will be allowed to receive on their tongues due to COVID. And again, please make sure you sanitize your hands. Finally, at the dismissal, we are going to have professional photography there for all of you. I think I had said earlier that we weren't going to because of COVID. That's changed. So we will have a professional photographer there, Pat Hitt. Most of you are familiar with Pat. And he's going to take a picture of the communicants as they're receiving communion in the pews. So him and the altar server are going to probably be having to strategically place themselves so that they're able to not be in each other's way. But there will be photographs taken of that when they're receiving. When we're done with photos, or with Mass, we will also do photographs afterwards if you choose. Pat will meet families at the altar to do photos. We had hoped to do them outside, but the weather is just going to be too hot, and now it sounds like rain, possibly. So we've decided to meet families down at the altar. You're going to remain in your pew. You're not going to be able to get it like in years past where everybody go whoof, clump, swarm down to the altar to take picture after picture after picture. You're not going to be able to do that this year. You're more than welcome to take pictures from your pew if you so choose, but the mom, dad, and the communicant are going to be going down to the altar one pew at a time. The ushers will release you. You go down, Pat will take your picture, and then you gather everything with you that was in your pew, and you leave through the narthex. You are not going to go through the activity center. You leave through the narthex. There is going to be a photo area located in the narthex that you can utilize if you want to, but I ask that you don't linger there. Pat will not photograph you. It's just simply for your own personal photographs if you want. I ask that you don't linger there because others are going to want to leave the church once they've been dismissed. Keep a note, you want to take everything out with you because once you are dismissed, you will not be permitted back into the church. One special note, Father is not going to be available for photos due to health and age restrictions. So I ask that you please respect that and not say, Father, can you meet us back in the narthex for pictures, or try and track him down. What Pat is going to do, and I think this is going to work out very nicely, is he will take, like I said, the photos of the children, the communicants individually. And then what he's going to do is he's going to do a collage with all with the entire group, and a photo of Father in the center of the collage. So they'll still have their picture with Father. And I think that's going to work out very, very nice. When it's ready, the collage will be, we'll give you a call. I'm on the fence. We may end up mailing them to you rather than having to have you all come in, because technically the parish offices are still closed. And it kind of gets difficult to try and set up a time to come in and pick them up, but we'll make that decision once they're ready. Guests in the activity center will be released section by section. And again, they're going to exit through the common area doors. They're not going to be able to get back in to do, the picture by the narthex or anything with a big family, or down by the altar or anything like that, like they were able to do in years past. I'm sorry, but that's just how it is. But if you meet them outside, and it's not raining, it'll be a little warm, but it might be sunny. We have a beautiful prayer garden, and we have a beautiful campus that you really could take photos anywhere you want on campus. That's your decision, what you want to do, but they're going to have to be done outside. Your guests will not be allowed back into the church due to COVID. So it might be a good idea before Mass starts to establish where you'll meet up after Mass, the day before or whatever. So just some general housekeeping, and to wrap this up, if your child or you are not feeling well, you have some kind of signs of COVID, a scratchy throat or a dry cough or a fever, please, by all means, stay home. I don't think I have to tell you this, but please stay home. Again, masks, we're not requiring masks, but highly recommend that you bring them with you. If you do not wear a mask, please refrain from singing. That's just kind of standard and how it is with normal masses on the weekend. Again, please take all items located in your pews, including your certificate. You'll have your banner. Don't forget to bring your banners on Sunday that you've put together. And there's a gift and a carnation from the gift is from the Council of Catholic Women, and the carnation is for your child from your parish family, their parish family. So just to let them know that this is such a special thing. We are so happy for them, and we're praying for them. And again, please familiarize yourself with the seating chart so you're able to easily find your pew before Mass begins. Restrooms and that, of course, will be open to use. That, that's a no-brainer. But we would just, to minimize the wandering and the touching and that type of thing as much as possible. We're just trying to make this as organized as we possibly can. And finally, I know, this has been a very challenging time for each of you. And I really thank you for your cooperation, your understanding, and your flexibility. It's absolutely a pleasure, and I mean that from the bottom of my heart, to have your children in this faith formation program. And it's an honor to work with each and every one of you. If I've forgotten anything, or if you have any questions, please feel free to give me a call or email the RE office. Thank you. See you Sunday. Bye. First communion is going to be a little different this year because of COVID. For our first communicants, they're going to receive in the pews, and Father's going to bring communion to them directly. The parents will not receive it this time. The parents will receive after all the first communicants have received in the pew. So to do this, Father's going to start on the far left side, closest to the choir area. And he's going to, of course, start with the very first pew. So Father, would you like to show us how this is going to happen? He will approach, before Father approaches, the altar server will approach the first communicant. They should receive a squirt of hand sanitizer and quickly rub their hands together until it dries. At this point, Father will come up behind, and he will Let me get closer. He will redistribute the first communion to the children. I'm sorry, but there's a really bright light here. Okay. Do you guys want to do that so we can show them exactly how the hands are supposed to be? The child should do a slight bow of the head. Father will say, the body of Christ. You put it in your hand. You'll take it, and there you go, very good. At this point, the child can sit down, and Father is going to move on to the next. He's going to snake around the church until all communicants have received.
I'll be there.
Yeah. Once Father has completed the first communicants, the families are going to go up. And as you can see on the floor, there are arrows everywhere. And these arrows you're going to want to follow because they're going to give you direction as to which way you're going to go and how you're going to go. Families will be released one pew at a time by the ushers. The Eucharistic minister will come to the pew. The family will go out. The child should go with the family, but the child will not receive it this time. The child should go with the family. They will walk outside of the pew, all the way to the back to one of the hand sanitizing stations. Mom and Dad are going to sanitize their hands. They're going to come back down the aisle. They're going to meet the Eucharistic minister. They're going to receive, and then they're going to go into their pews from that point on. Now, Nick, do they walk? Could you kind of show how they walk out, Nick?
Well, if I'm in this pew,
Which is the first middle pew.
right, we would exit this way because we want to go to the hand sanitizer, and for this section, it's way in the back.
Exactly.
So we go this way, and we're all social distancing. And usher will spray your hands here with this. And then we let them dry as we come around this way. And the Eucharistic minister will be right here. So at that time, my hands are dry. I receive the Eucharist and I go right in my pew. So everybody goes around the whole section of pews.
Right. And like I said, we're released pew at a time, one pew at a time. So it will take a little bit of time, but that's how it is for COVID, and that's how it is for social distancing. We're going to run through this an hour before the actual Mass on Sunday, so you'll get a better feel for how it's going to flow.